Good morning. I'm Jennifer Palmer, and I'll be your worship leader today. During the service, we recommend you have your Zoom screen set to speaker view. Common Ground is our celebration of worship for people of many paths who are gathering to share in the responsible search for meaning and truth. Pathways is a warm and open community where all who come with open minds and kind hearts are welcome, regardless of ability, age, race, gender identity, or sexual orientation. If you are visiting with us today, we welcome you to our hybrid service with both Zoom and in-person options. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We would love to hear from you. To send us a note about your visit and get more information, you can email us at office@pathwaysuu.org. Whether you're joining us by Zoom or in person, we're so glad you're here. We hope that all who join us today find this a safe place to worship. Our opening song this morning is Seed by Emma's Revolution. As we remain muted, please feel free to join in or just listen.
Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it water and time for a day or a year. Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it love. 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 Take the dream that you have and dream it here. Give it courage and time for a day or a year. Take the dream that you have and dream it here. Give it love. 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 Take the song that you have and sing it here. Give it strength and time for a day or a year. Take the song that you have and sing it here. Give it love. 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 Give it love.
Now I'm pleased to welcome our lead speaker for today, Pathway's own Franklin Drago, to read his words for our chalice lighting. Franklin is a board member, a member of our Sunday service creative team, and a facilitator for the Soul Matters and On My Path groups.
Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to this wonderful day, this cold, wonderful day. As we light our virtual chalice today, on this morning, I ask you to please join us as we read these words. We light this chalice as we come together with intentionality to encircle each other and ourselves with the welcoming light of community. As we do so, we open this space to receive what we need from within and from each other.
Now I invite you to join me in a renewal of our sacred promises. Please read along with me. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other. Our call to worship today is the poem Love After Love by Derek Walcott. The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, "Sit here, eat." You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life. Our worship song for today is For All That Is Our Life. Now we welcome back Franklin to lead us in our service for today. Healing, brought to you by the Soul Matters Group.
Thank you again, everyone, for joining us here. We put this service together to demonstrate one of the practices that we follow in the Soul Matters small group. This practice is there to help us to go into the story of our life, to find truth and meaning that is there related to the topic that we are discussing for each month. This month's topic is healing. Healing is something that we all need. It's something that we've all gone through and we've all experienced. And the challenge that we are presented with today with this topic is, how do we go into our lives and find how the healing that we've experienced has deposited wisdom there? Most of us know that healing is not going to come unless there's a trauma, there's a tragedy, there's a hurt that's taken place. In those moments, there's not just pain, but there's also treasure that's buried within us as we go through all of these. All of us being here today is a testimony to all that we've already gone through. In our Soul Matters group, what we do is we share from our hearts, from our stories, from our experience, speaking about our lives and what we've gone through. And in those moments, we experience something transformative. By listening to our own stories and being able to speak it out, we bring forth power that's within us, that's there to fill our community and ourselves, to bring us forward into the spaces that we want to move into. But we also encourage each other to do the same thing. And as we listen, we also hear from the other person's story how our stories are also intertwined, and the power and the life that is there for healing in our own lives in many ways. As we listen today to the small group that gather, let us know that it's not something that we do lightly, but it's something that we do from a vulnerable space. And because of that, we form a covenant with each other. Whenever a Soul Matters group forms, we create a covenant together that guides us to help us find our way through this difficult time that we're going through. The importance of our covenant is to help us be able to maintain this space that allows us to share to the degree that we want to share. I'm going to read this, what I wrote about our covenant. Our covenant, we form this covenant together and leave it open for changing to meet the need of the group. It's not there to control us, but to guide us in a way that creates a sacred space for sharing moments of vulnerability. And that's why this covenant is so important. So today, we make an amends as we open this covenant and invite you in as a congregation to be part of our circle and to listen to us as we share from our hearts and from our story. And we hold this space open for each of you. I'm going to read through a little bit of the covenant because it is important. It's on the screen. I'm not going to read everything that's on there, but on the first slide of the covenant, we practice deep listening. That means hold still and offer space. That means when someone is speaking, we listen. We listen to ourselves. We listen to the other person. We kind of silence our thoughts and we just hold the space open. And we do this to create connection. We do this by listening with gratitude. Someone might say something you may not agree with, or you take offense at, but try to go into that. Don't just get stuck there. Go into why. Why did this offend me? Why did I not agree with this? What does this say to me? On the middle side, there is one thing that's very important, is the honoring confidentiality. Further conversation after the session is over regarding personal sharing should be done with permission only. We share the lessons we've learned, but not other people's stories unless we ask for permission. This is so important. This is the most critical part of why we're able to gain the kind of healing that we experience in our small group. Being able to share openly and trusting that the community of people that we share it with can hold our truths and hold our stories with honor and with respect. That makes it so incredibly safe for us to go deeper into ourselves and bring the things that really matter. These are the things that where we find the transformation that we need, not for ourselves only, but for also the members of our community. So that's very important that we all remember this, especially on today. We are inviting a bigger group into this space of sharing. So we thank you for honoring that. On the last slide, I do want to mention volunteerism. That is something that is important to us as we go through Soul Matters. It's something that helps us to continue to grow as a community and as a church, not just in number, but to grow as individuals so that we have healthier relationships, so we have a greater space, a richer space to invite more people in. So not just those of us who are here now can receive the blessings and the healing of this place, but all those who come by and see and notice. For today, we're going to practice just one section of the Soul Matters small group section, and it's the questions. Each packet gives us a series of questions, and these questions are not here to be answered necessarily. I sent out an email during the week to everyone who's signed up for the newsletter with the list of the questions, so I'm not going to read through each question, but the practice is to find a question that calls out to you, a question that draws your attention over and over again as you go through the list of questions, and then ask why. Why did that question call to me? What is it about it that speaks to my life, and how does it connect to my story? And what can I do with that question? So the practice is to wrestle with this question and all the ways in which it's connected and it speaks to me during the month. And then when I come to the time of sharing in our small group, is to share why did I pick that question and go into it and then reveal what the question showed me about myself and about my story in my life. And this is what our group is going to practice here today. I asked for a group of volunteers, and a group of Soul Matters members volunteered, and they are here today to share with us. They're going to share with us their stories of their journey with this question. I'm going to read the list of, just say the names of people who have signed up to help us in this small group. Stephen Braun, Tink Foster, Luke Kimball, Nova Wall, Ellen Hanford, and me. I'm here too. I'll share. As we share in this moment, I invite each of you to listen closely. Each member of the group is going to share your mic. If you keep your computer on speaker mode, you'll see the person sharing, or you can go to gallery view and you can just see the whole group. But each person is going to share. There'll be a little pause in between the sharing, and then another person will share until all the members of the group have shared. After everyone is shared, we'll open up the circle so that any member of the congregation who would like to share about any of the questions, or if something that you've heard moves you to share, please do so and share. And also, let's remember our time with each other and try to limit it to no more than 5 minutes for our share. We'll start with Luke.
Thank you, Franklin. So every month we get a packet of information. This month's theme was healing, and I thought it was probably the most appropriate theme for the month of November. At this point in time, there is so much healing that needs to take place. The planet needs to heal. We're going through climate change. We've had record fires, record hurricanes. I learned about something called a derecho, which I never even heard that term before. And we have a global pandemic going. All these need healing. More importantly, our country, 2020 was, you can fill in the blank there, dumpster fire, whatever you want to call it. COVID, by all accounts, should have been this unifying force amongst all of us, but obviously it was not. Our democracy was and continues to be challenged, and our economy is taking a giant hit. Individually, we all feel isolated because of the pandemic. So it was a very appropriate month to talk about healing. You know, I want to just say a couple more things about the small groups. These small groups, I think, I call it optimal at this time. In Soul Matters, typically it's 8 people maximum in a group on Zoom. Everybody gets a chance to share, and more importantly, everyone gets a chance to listen deeply. I'll also say that you get to know, I personally have gotten to know members of the congregation on a much deeper level, which I really appreciate, getting to know people beyond just the surface small talk. And more importantly, you get to know yourself. So the thing that I did is I picked, there was out of those questions, I picked the second question, what's something you know about healing that you didn't know when you were younger? I could write a book on that, but let's stick to the high points. One of the things is I was listening to other people speak. Somebody made the comment, it's not a forgetting that heals, it's remembering. And that is so true. And to live a full life, you need to forgive others. But more importantly, you need to forgive yourself. I just find that we all, well, personally, we hang on to too much garbage in our minds, and most of the problems are inside our head. What I ended up sharing with the group was an incident that happened 33 years ago. It was not my fault. I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But, a young man and I had a collision on the interstate, and I had the unfortunate, just happened to be unfortunate that I was there because he didn't survive. And I basically just got out of my car and was okay. But, I had buried that thing so deep that I hadn't thought about it in a long time. And I actually, in the Soul Matters group that week, I didn't plan on talking about that. But other people talking about their experiences brought that back and brought it to the forefront. And I don't know, I just thought it was good to share. And I think maybe that has helped me heal from that incident, because we do carry around a lot of guilt that sometimes is not ours. Anyhow, that's what I've gotten out of Soul Matters. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Alin, and I'm going to be going next. As you can see, the contrast between the Hawaiian shirt and the bundled up person. If you look at the packet that you've received, you'll find so much information on healing, and it helps so much to go through everything to discover yourself in these terms. There's music, there are pictures, there are quotes, there are poems, there's videos. It was so much to read, and generally we have to pick one option. I couldn't. I picked several. It really helps to delve deeper into yourself and into your own experiences. I chose question number 12. Is it possible to see pain as an invitation, not just an enemy? From my personal view, as most of you know, I was laid off after 30 years with American Airlines in July, which came as a shock because it does question your value and how you feel as a person, and kind of drove me into a feeling of, am I worthy? Am I adequate? It takes a toll on yourself from that perspective to kind of say, why me? And that's where the enemy part is. So in order to see the invitation was to step back and say, okay, I'm not the only one. I have a lot of colleagues. In fact, one of my colleagues had 40 years with American. And to view this as a new opportunity. Of course, it takes time to get to that point, but I am there now. And this healing session helped me see that and just really reinforced it for me. It also brought forward things, just like Luke said, what's happening today in the world, and my wanting to understand the other side of the aisle, actually the more fringe side, which is difficult, and trying to allow myself to say, okay, leave them be who you are, and hope that the goodness in all will make people change, especially in the environment we are today, but we're heading into a new environment. It was also great to be in a safe space, to hear others speak as well, and to realize you're not alone. And this healing packet, I encourage you all to read because it has such great things to read and learn about yourself, and just help, especially under the circumstances today. There's so much more to add, but I really want to give more time to my colleagues to be able to express themselves, and for those of you who want to express yourselves as well. Thank you for being here today.
Hello, this is Stephen Braun. I did Wellsprings for a year. Then this year I'm doing Soul Matters. In both cases, they're similar programs. You have the opportunity in the covenantal group to go a little deeper, to self-reflect, but also to listen deeply to others. When you do that, you find out your story is not so unique after all. It's like ripples in a pond. It sort of echoes with other people's stories. I also chose, in no consultation with Luke, question number 2, about what did I not know in youth that I've learned in older age. When I was young, I thought that time was an arrow and it went straight, and I was following my path and achieving my goals and doing what I needed to do to become successful or to learn the truth. But the farther down the path you go, things start to look familiar. Things echo. Things like ripples in a pond seem familiar, strangely familiar. And you realize I've been here before. This is a pattern. It's a circle. I don't know what the image is, a double helix maybe. But time doesn't go straight. It sort of swirls around and around. So these are the kinds of thoughts that I used to have on my own that now I get to explore in a small group. So what losses did I experience that have been transformed into healing? Well, the obvious biggest one probably is the fact that I have a genetic form of macular degeneration that results in inexorable vision loss, continuing on with no cure or treatment at this point for my particular disease, so that the things I was able to do, the sports, the driving, the reading, that were joys and blessings, have now taken a back seat to what can you still do? How can you do what you want to do, but differently? How can you still be the person that you think you are and interact with and help other people with their issues? And this is not something I've always done gracefully, but it is a path that has led me to what I think was a more mature end result. And I thank the people that I've shared with that have helped me on that journey. Abilities go and come. One disability writer I was reading said, we're all temporarily abled. That means when we age, things fade away. So the important stuff stays behind though. 3 years ago, my house burnt down. I lost all my possessions, and the 11-year relationship with an artist woman burnt down with the house. We split. I was sort of once again dealing with loss and renewal, a challenge. Sure, about a year after that, I found Pathways. So on this path that I've been on through my life, I ended up at Pathways. And I'm very appreciative of all that's happened since I came, all the people I've met, and those with whom I've shared this story in one way or another. And that's what Soul Matters is. It's an opportunity to go deeper, but not to do it just by yourself, to do it in that covenantal, trusting, safe community of friends. Thank you for this time to share.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tink. And Soul Matters is a place for you to find yourself. It was the spiritualism group that I didn't know I needed. And not only do we get to learn more about each other and become closer, tight-knit family together in these small groups, but the main purpose is discovering what's inside of you. And this month of healing is a really big deal for me. since I know we've all had our trials and troubles, and we all kind of stumble along pathways to find our home. And being a part of this group means being able to find a place to heal. I chose question 6. Have you been running on empty for so long that you no longer notice? And that one hit me like a ton of bricks. I didn't realize that I was running on empty until I read that statement. And I read through the entire healing packet. And I encourage all of you to do so as well. For the class, we're only required to do one practice and answer one question. But I spend time throughout that month, anytime I have a spare moment, reading those extra readings, listening to that Spotify playlist, doing everything I can to explore as much of the packet as possible. Because the more I explore, it's not homework to turn into my teacher. It's me exploring myself. And I realized for the past couple of years, I have described myself as a shell of who I used to be. So reading this question about running on empty really spoke to me. And I realized that I have been empty. I've been empty of all the wonderful things that it makes me me. I've stopped writing, I've stopped drawing, I've stopped singing. These used to be my passions. It used to be what I did every day in some way, shape, or form. I've stopped reading my books and telling my stories and stopped playing my games. And never once did I tell somebody, oh, I'm too old for that. No. I'm the one that was running around being whatever age my kids were. And I believe that holding on to that childlike side of you is the best way to keep you alive. But I told myself the worst lie, that I'm just too busy. I'm too busy to do anything for me. I was too busy being a wife and too busy being a mother and taking care of everyone else that I forgot that I have things that I'm supposed to take care of me for. I started having my children when I was only a teenager myself. And for the past 2.5 decades, I've literally been everything anybody else needed me to be, and wholeheartedly loved and enjoyed every minute of that. Did not realize that I was in a constant state of giving and giving and giving, to the point that now I've ran out of fuel. I have nothing left. 2 years ago, let's just say that the rug that had been under my feet supporting me for the majority of my life was very quickly ripped out from under me. And I have felt like for the past 2 years that I'm just spiraling in midair, trying to find my feet again. And reading that question reminded me that I had just ran out of fuel. I've been running on empty for so long, I didn't notice. I'd been trying to breathe toxic air for so long. I didn't know what to do or how to feel when my air was made fresh and clean by the love and support of this church. I didn't know how to feel when the majority of every person I had known in my life decided to take a sharp left turn on their path, and I'm still strolling around happily in the desert. Our soul grows and thrives and survives by going through trials and tribulations and pain and strife, but with the balance of love and kindness and empathy. And I had currently put myself in a boat with too many troubles, and I couldn't handle it all alone. I felt like I was just floating around with no food or water to sustain me. And then finding pathways was like having the solid anchor that I could tie my boat to. Having Soul Matters, to be able to spend each month taking the time to remember how to fuel my own fire, how to listen to my soul inside, how to learn how to breathe again. I leave you with this: life is too short. Don't forget to refuel and keep moving ahead, always looking for the next adventure, because your path is lit by a chalice flame that will never die.
My name is Franklin Trigo, and I'll share. Um, this past week, when I had, or a week before, when I had my small group, I chose a question that asked me about how do I enjoy and take pleasure and play in my own life. And in that journey on that question, it led me to discover that there was a part of me, the part of me that enjoyed and played was a part of me that I had somehow locked away a long, long time ago. When I was a child, it seemed, and I didn't really allow that part of me to enter into the world because the world didn't feel safe. Um, there was a part of me that saw the world in a certain way and this happiness and this joy and this adventure that it is. But I think my experience of sadness and sorrow and misery, like all of us have growing through life, caused me to hide this part of me away. And in that journey, in that question, I discovered this part of me, and I didn't really didn't know how to approach that place to find healing there, because what I discovered in me was this feeling that this part of me was a part of me that had harmed in some way, and I was afraid to approach it because I thought that I would receive some sort of punishment, some sort of um, something held against me, some sort of rejection within me, some harshness, because I looked at my life and I saw how many ways in which I was harming myself. And the healing that I needed was healing not only from these experiences that I may have from other people, but mainly from myself in the way that I've treated myself over the years. And in that process, what I found was this person in me that was so full of life and love embraced me and didn't harm me and didn't push me away. And it brought this healing and this wholeness to me that I didn't know I needed in the way that I needed it. Coming here to Pathways helped me find a lot about my own identity and how I lived it in the world. But this journey of finding myself was just about me. This week, when I sent out the question to the congregation to participate in this, a different question came to me, and that question was, is it time for you to trust people again? I didn't understand why that question jumped out at me, because I felt like, oh, I trust people. But I realized that there was a part of me that I don't trust people with, and it's tied to that part of me that I kept hidden so far away, because how do I trust someone else to treat me the way that I would want to be treated or not harm me? How do I keep that from happening? And in wrestling with this question this week to prepare for today, I found the answers that I discovered within me wasn't so much about what other people were gonna do, but about me, how I treated myself, and how do I treat myself when I know that I've put myself in harm's way, when the things that I've done are the things that's harmed me. And in that, I found that I have all these practices in place. I now have a way of seeing and identifying how I'm treating myself and when I'm being cruel to myself and not being kind and compassionate. And I know what to do. I know what to say. I know how to respond. I know how to react now. And all of these things I've known throughout my life, but the actual applying of them in my life, I can say in the abundant way that it has been, in the way that it's really brought this healing that has transformed me, why I'm able to stand here before you and say these things to you, is because of the experience that I've had here in community, in Pathways. being here and being able to be my true self in a group of people that accept me just as I am has taught me how to do the same thing with myself when I go inside myself and find places in me that I don't like and things that I don't enjoy about my own self. And I'm healed in this way, and that is something that I know that will never leave me, and I'm so thankful for that. And I'm grateful that this journey into healing has brought me here, and not just a thought about healing, but actual healing.
And I think I'm last. And I'm Nova. And I have loved, like everybody else said, this packet was, oh my goodness. On healing is just what I needed this month. I've always been was fiercely independent and very strong and felt like I could tackle anything. And, uh, and then COVID hit in March. And I don't ever, I mean, vaguely remember every once in a while getting depressed, but I felt like I fell into a 200-foot deep well that I could not, I'd climb 5 feet and then I'd fall back down and just continue to do that. And I floundered for until June. And so I had to, um, it completely, I felt like I was a different person. I didn't remember the old Nova. I was vulnerable and afraid and lonely. And so anyway, I've done a lot of healing. I realized nobody could fix me except me. And so I've been on this journey of working mentally, physically, and spiritually. And thank God I started going to Pathways last year because y'all have helped me so much in so many little ways. And I'm so appreciative. And then I started studying the Baha'i faith this summer, and I love them. So I try to surround myself with good, positive people that were uplifting that I could try to emulate and climb out of my hole with. And I didn't want to be around anybody that was negative, that would bring me down. I felt like an empath and I would just soak up their negativity. So consequently, I just kind of cocooned myself. And I'm glad I did with all of y'all and my other Baha'i friends. And, but every once in a while I would think about it of my old friendships that I had. And one in particular was a friend that I'd been friends with since we were 14. And we had, quote, dysfunctional families that bonded us as teenagers. And we both went through horrible, not married, abusive marriages and divorces and bad breakups with boyfriends and all that kind of stuff. So we were there for each other in the trenches. And we've just grown apart the past 4 years. And it just got to where we didn't talk hardly at all this year. And it bothered me. And I thought, well, maybe after January 20th, maybe there will be healing going on in our country. And like Luke said, there's so much broken and things that we need to heal. So, but I felt like I needed to heal Nova before I could tackle anything else. But so anyway, there's one particular friend that was bothering me the most. And I'm sitting here this morning over coffee thinking about what I wanted to say. And she texted me. And so I called her and I'm going to cry. But we talked for about 45 minutes and it felt so good. I mean, considering it was healing. And I think we're going to repair our friendship. And so anyway, I got so much out of this packet and talking to all of y'all. And thank goodness, I'm so proud that I have all of y'all. And thank you, Franklin, and all the people in our little group. And I love Soul Matters. For any of you next year, try to sign up for it. And God bless you all. Love you.
I want to thank everyone that volunteered to speak, and all of you who have been listening intently and deeply. I want to open up the circle now for anyone in the congregation who read the question and has something one to share from your own story, or if just by listening today to the stories that were shared, something called out to you and you would like to speak, please remember also our time to honor it, so that everyone who has a chance to who wants to speak has a chance to speak. I open up this time now. Whoever wants to speak, you can go ahead and unmute your mic and then just share. And then once you're done, you can go back on mute.
This is Richard. I have something brief to share about one's question number 2, what I've learned. I can only speak for myself, not about anything that might work for anyone else. Like many of us here, I've experienced the devastating pain of loss multiple times in my life, including growing up without parents present, the loss of a child, loss of relationships, so many things to heal from. For years, I was pretty much numb to these things, lose self in my work in the science area. But I knew later in my life that there were very important things that I needed to learn. I still know very little as I approach my 83rd year tomorrow, not next year. One of the most important things I've learned is that nothing external, no one, no work, no possessions can heal me or give me the answers. Just like no one can make me happy or sad. Those are interior things I do for and to myself, and other people can maybe only point toward what I call my internal wisdom door, where my healing wisdom lives. My largest insights have come during retreats and teachings, starting over 30 years ago, from just a very few teachers who have pointed me toward principles that would become so important to me, like equanimity and non-duality. By equanimity, I mean balance, even-mindedness, and letting go. Equanimity is informed by non-duality, by which I mean non-separation of things into this and that, recognizing the oneness and inner being and interconnectivity of everything. Being a child of the Depression, I have a strong tendency to worry about what ifs and preparing to avoid loss. All the teachings I've received remind me of this balance, even-mindedness, and letting go. They constitute pretty much the steel rod I'm roped to as I travel through my life. When I experience healing and epiphanies and things like that, I always try to write them down so I can go back and remember them if I forget. I know very little, but I still have much more to learn than there are years to learn it. but that's okay. I'm flowing with my life. I can now treat pain and anger as my friends in need and go to them, put my arm around them and tell them everything will be okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Chambers, and it's so blessed to be here this morning with everyone. I wanted to talk about my life 31 years ago. Last August, my son committed suicide drunk. At that time, I had 7 years of sobriety. So I was sort of in touch with, if you go through AA, in many ways, it's very similar to a lot of other programs that help you. But I decided early on after he committed suicide that I had a choice. I was going to have to treat losing him and regaining my sanity as a job. I put work into it every day. Every weekend, I got CDs that are not CDs, but those things you rent years ago. And they were all comedies. I wouldn't watch anything that was negative. And I did that for 3 years, and my dog is barking, so I might have to get off. But just let me say that thank God I made that decision, because it saved my life, and I'm a happy person today with everyone I have in my life, and my hair really looks bad this morning. So I appreciate you guys for loving me in spite of it. Thank you.
I'm gonna jump in here with everyone. Um, we do want to honor the time that we have for the service to keep it, make sure we end on time. We're going to open up the space after 11 o'clock for more people to share. I know Stan in particular reached out and said he wanted to share, so I would like to invite Stan to go ahead and share before we do the music, and then we'll do close out the chalice with the chalice extinguishing, and then we'll open up the space for more sharing. I'm sorry, Stan, you're still muted.
Unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Very briefly, I guess you all know that my wife Lois passed away about 9 months ago. And my first response was not what I'd call healing. It was more distraction. Made myself an elaborate travel plan to race up to Bar Harbor, Maine, and then down to Savannah, Georgia, and Charleston, etc. COVID shot that down for sure. For example, you have to quarantine for 14 days to get into Maine these days. Next thing, of course, I thought I could do as a distraction would be to join the Unitarian Church in Rockville, but like Pathways, it's shut down. So it's actually been forcing me to look ahead really to next month's Soul Matters topic, and to just try to be grateful for the years we had together and the memories we developed together, and to say, in the words of next month's Soul Matters, this is enough. And I'm working on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing and listening. Our closing song for today is Crowded Table by the Highwomen.
You can hold my hand when you need to let go. I can be a mountain when you feel